I'm here to talk to you about why everyone should want a tag management system. Now, technically not everyone, like your mom and dad and your kids, they probably don't want a tag management system, but everyone at the conference here, every advertiser and publisher should want one. I'm going to show you why. So, a little bit about myself. I am the SVP of Enterprise Operations with Conversant, and my team. On the CJ side, they're responsible for integrating with advertisers and activating, getting them live. And then once they're in there, we have client support teams who support both publishers and unmanaged advertisers. As far as my experience, I've been in the digital world since 2000 and been on various sides of things. I spent over 10 years with Conversant in 2 stints. This is my second time around, and I'm just hitting my 4-year anniversary on my second time back because I got a whole bunch of happy anniversary congratulations this morning on LinkedIn. So glad to be back. And in between that, I worked at Razorfish, a digital agency in New York on their media side, and great experience. I have a lot of stories I'm going to tell from those days when I was running ad operations and campaign management teams, all very relevant to tag management and the problems we face there. Because I've dealt with so many tagging problems through the years, from the time way before tag management systems, I was selected to be the designer of Conversant Tag Manager, which is Conversant's tag management system, and I'll explain why we have one later. All right, let's get to it. So, on the internet, everything that can go wrong goes wrong millions of times a day, every day. And if those things go wrong on your website, what can happen, right? Clients, your visitors can get frustrated and leave, like if the pages are loading slowly, or they can get scared away if there's warnings and error messages. So very real problem. And the interesting thing is, a lot of times problems are a result of tags that you put up on your website. So I'll tell you a true story. Imagine that you're after work on a Friday, you go home and you're going to do some online banking. So you log into your bank's website and maybe you're going to pay some bills, and suddenly you see an error message like this, right? Saying there's a problem with some kind of security certificate, things may not be safe, maybe you shouldn't trust this. What are you going to do? I mean, if it were me, I would log out immediately, probably call their support center and say, what's going on? Either that or just wait for the next day. But that's a pretty scary thing, and you don't want to lose trust in your bank, and they certainly don't want to lose the trust of their customers. So this actually happened about 5 years ago with a large bank, major bank, who happens to be an affiliate merchant, but we won't mention them. This had nothing to do with CJ or affiliate. I was on the agency side at Razorfish, and some tag that we had put up maybe months earlier, which was behaving fine, started misbehaving, let's put it that way, and causing these warnings. And so what happened was the operations team at this bank, they were in panic mode, obviously, because the tag was put there by the agency using an ad server, a third-party ad serving system. So it wasn't a tool that the operations staff had access to or had any idea how to use. So they just frantically start calling people to find anyone who can take that tag down that was causing the problem. So that was on a Friday evening. It wasn't until Saturday afternoon that they finally found somebody, and that was me. Now, being very familiar, running an operations team, I was able to very quickly diagnose it, and within like 5 minutes I had the tag down. But you can imagine the storm that happened after that. I mean, losing faith in the agency, and like, it wasn't us, it was an established vendor that just had a problem. Question is, what happens when these things happen? There's a fire drill. In this case, it was a real fire, but a lot of times they're just fire drills that turn out to be nothing. So I'm going to give you an example of one. But a lot of things go on when tags misbehave. Most commonly, they load slowly, and they may slow down a website. So another example of an actual fire drill. Now, if you notice the date here, it says October 29, 2014. It turns out this was the same financial institution. Now, why am I getting this email? This was back from my Razorfish days. I've been back 4 years, right? So, as I said, they panic and they try to find anyone when there's a problem. Well, they had my Gmail account, from years ago, and so I got on this distribution list. And as you can see here, they're saying there's some problem with Slow List launching one of the home pages that they have. So as you can see, it starts out, it goes to the vendor, the ad serving vendor, and say, what's going on? A couple of distribution lists CC'd. And then the next email I get, now they've added 3 distribution lists to this. And then the next one, 7 distribution lists. So ultimately, I'm sure they had I wasn't involved anymore, I wasn't responding to this, but I'm sure they had a phone call with about 30 people on the line. And by the time they had this meeting, I'm sure the problem had long since been resolved by whatever vendor was slowing down the site. So there's really nothing for them to do to look at each other and say, well, I hope it doesn't happen again. So this is obviously a problem. Websites can't be victims of tags misbehaving. Conversely, we need tags as marketers on our sites. So we need to make sure that website changes don't cause a fire drill for us. If tracking goes down, that's going to cost money, right? That's going to cost publishers. They're not going to get their commissions. If you're managing the affiliate channel, suddenly you're not getting credit for conversions that belong to you. So it's a real problem. Like if the money just stops flowing, and what happens is, at least my operations team, they have a fire drill doing they're down tracking. They're all smiling here, but they're not smiling when it happens. They have to do some down tracking investigation, kind of figure out, well, who do we credit, and so on. So really this comes down to is that we have competing needs. The affiliate marketers, right, you need tracking so that your vendors, like CJ, can measure things, make sure that we're able to credit publishers. If you're doing display advertising or search, you want to make sure those channels get credit so they can optimize media spend and so on. On the other side, you have web developers, operations teams who need to make sure the site is safe and fast. And so there are competing needs here. We need tags. Tags can affect the website. We need tags to be secure. Website changes can break tags. Fortunately, there is a solution. It's the tag management system that solves the needs of both. So I'm going to let somebody speak about this, so you get a break from my voice. I'm going to introduce you to Matt Caught. He actually works for Conversant. He works out of the UK office, and he was responsible for all of Dell's tagging worldwide. So we'll hear from him a couple of times, but he'll be talking about the competition here.
One of the age-old problems, and Dell is certainly not adverse to this as well, is the conflict between your site development teams and your marketeers wanting rich data pulled back from the websites. Obviously, your site team want as responsive and engaging a site as possible, whilst your marketeers want to use tracking systems such as Conversant to pull back information so they can report and optimize too. With Conversant Tag Manager, you can have absolute confidence with your site teams given the slickness of the new technology that there will be no degradation in terms of site performance, but yet for your marketeers and the media performance, you'll be able to pull back all the rich information you need to optimize your media dollar too.
Obviously, Matt sounds smart because he's got a British accent, but he's actually even smarter than he sounds. So, I said the solution is tag management systems. What is a tag management system? It's software that runs on typically every page of your website, where it allows you to put tags into it based on the rules you define. We'll load those tags on pages, collecting data, passing it along to your partners. What does that provide? Accurate, stable tracking. The technology used by tag management systems, along with your web development team, allows for a more stable experience when website changes occur. It also provides a safe user experience. So we're not going to see issues like we saw before where we got scary security warnings or fire drills from slow loading tags. And probably what may make you the most excited is it puts you in control of tagging. I'm going to go into these things in detail, but before I do that, I just want to go over some tagging basics. So we'll have a little technology lesson here. It's not too heavy. So some basics of tagging. What is a tag? Tag is an instruction to your web browser that tells it how to render a portion of the web page. So here's a sample. This is an image tag. You can see IMG in red. So the idea here is that we're telling the browser, we want you to go get an image file and put it up on the web page. So that's the tag, and then the location of it. You can see it's coming from a CJ server. And then the name of the file. Pretty simple stuff, right? So it says CJ affiliate logo. So what does that look like when the browser renders it? There it is, the CJ logo. So if you go to the CJ, any web page, and you go to view page source, you can find this tag and you'll see it. So there is no such thing as a tracking tag. So all the vendors, including CJ, who need to do tracking, we have to use existing tags that are part of HTML, of the web language. So we may use image tags, we may use something called iframe tags or JavaScript tags, but they all are doing the same thing, allowing us to call our servers, collect information about your site visitors. So how does CJ tagging work? So this, as I said, this is an iframe tag, different from an image tag, but the concepts are the same. Obviously a little bit more complicated. But you can see in red we have the name of the server, so that's a CJ server that's collecting the data, and then CJ tags typically fire on the order confirmation page, right? So here's the information about item 1, the SKU, the amount and quantity of items purchased. And then after that, we have item 2. And then information such as, who are you? What company is this that we need to track? Or the order ID, of course, and a type, which is actually indicating which action it is of all the actions we may be tracking. And then lastly, what currency was the event tracked in, US dollars, and there was a coupon. So the takeaway here is that this stuff is not hard to look at and understand, but it has to be perfect. If there's any mistake in this, the tag stops tracking. So if the order ID was blank or the amounts were missing, that causes a big problem. We're just not tracking right. And those things can happen, they do happen. Matter of fact, show of hands, who has ever had a problem with down tracking? A lot of hands going up, almost everybody. Having a tag management system, although it doesn't guarantee you won't have a down tracking problem, if it's implemented correctly, you're not going to have problems. Again, the solution, tag management systems. Let's take a look. So let's talk about accurate and stable tracking. This is what's most important to you, right? You need to make sure that tags are always tracking conversions. So let's hear, again from Matt, talking about simplifying things and being more robust.
Under the old container tag solution, we were upward of 80 tags worldwide across all Dell properties. Now with Convertant's new tag management product, we've consolidated this down just to 4 tags across all their desktop and mobile applications. This means we can deploy tags much quicker in a more robust and accurate fashion.
So robust and accurate, key to proper tracking of all your digital marketing channels. He was talking about going from 80 tags to 4 tags. So what was happening was he was using actually the Conversion ad server platform. Dell, our relationship goes back over 10 years, way before tag management systems. So the old way of doing things, we would have a unique tag on every single page. So as web development makes changes, moves pages around, it becomes a maintenance nightmare. Getting things down to 4 greatly simplified things and just reduces the chance of having any kind of problems. So what affects accuracy? Obviously, we just talked about website changes, right? Tags can fall off entirely, suddenly we have no tracking, or there's a change and some orders track, some don't. So we have everything's great for several days and then boom, there's a big problem and someone's got to figure it out. What else affects accuracy? When tags load on the page. So typically, web development teams, they put all those tracking tags at the bottom of the web page. And if you're wondering why, it's because web pages are rendered from top to bottom. I mean, they happen so fast nowadays, right? But you do see it load from top to bottom. And they don't want slow loading tags from affecting the user experience. They want all the content to load right away. So what do? They stick them all at the bottom. So if you look at the lower left corner of the page here, I'm just symbolically showing the CJ logo. So that's where when the CJ tag is going to load. With a tag management system, if it's properly implemented, we can load that tag at the top of the page. So if it fires at the top, it's going to fire a lot more often relative to each page loading. A company called Tagman, they were really the first tag management vendor. No longer, they're now part of Untitled, another tag management company. They did a study many years ago, I don't know, about 7 years ago, where they measured and they saw that tags at the top of the page fired 20% more often than tags at the bottom. So you can imagine, we may only be tracking, if your tag is still down there, like if you're a legacy CJ advertiser for many years, we may be tracking only 80% of the activity. Pretty big deal. So now we're going to hear from Elisa Tomatis from Symantec talking about how accuracy improved when they switched to Insight, another tag management vendor.
One of the things we really decided to do as a team, knowing that we are now using Untitled as a tag management system, was or software, we decided to move our CJ Pixel from the platform to the Untitled tag management system and really learn about how and really change how the Pixel was firing and have more control over what it was doing. Now our reports really do match up to CJ's within 1%, which is great, because now we know we can really trust what we're seeing and then what CJ's seeing in the account manager.
That's pretty powerful, 1% accurate discrepancy. You won't see that in pretty much any other types of tracking online. All right, speaking of experience, safe user experience. This is the part that's of interest to your web development operations teams. So remember the old style hourglass when we're waiting for things to load. This is the thing they're most afraid of, because this happens a lot. In my time at Razorfish, there were some clients that would call us every single week about tags taking a long time to load. So let's see what the impact of slow loading tags is on a business. So this is a study by Kissmetrics, and as you can see, it's showing the relationship between how long a page takes to load and how long people give up on that page and abandon it. And we've all experienced this, right? We're waiting for a page to load, it's too slow, there's something wrong, I'm going away. I close the window, I go somewhere else. So you can see if it takes 4 seconds to load, 25% of the people leave. If it takes 10 seconds to load, almost half leave. So obviously that's dollars that's flowing probably to another merchant. So this is tracking tags from I just picked 3 affiliate advertisers, and I want to see what tags are firing on their pages. And I used a tool called Ghostery. It's a free browser plugin. I'll talk about it more in a minute. But what it does is, as I visit any page on the web, it puts up on top of the page a little band that shows all the vendors who are tracking on that page. So these, if you're marketers, you're putting these tags up, and I just want to give you a sense of how much of that's going on. So to give you an example, I just picked a few out of the finance vendor. So what type of companies? Adobe Test and Target. Now this is not a tracking per se, this is actually doing content testing on the site. DoubleClick, third-party ad serving, very common, you're going to see them on most websites. Untitled, tag management system, that's the one that Symantec uses. Google, Media Math, so if anyone's buying on ad exchanges for display advertising, that's one of the major players. Omniture, which actually became Site Catalyst, which became Adobe Analytics. Most everyone has some kind of website analytics on their site, so there's a tag for that. And then traditional media buying, it says ValueClick Media. We rebranded to Conversant February 2014. So Ghostery, they're great at providing content, they just don't update it. The brand names very often. But as you can see, there's a lot going on. And the more tags you have, the more likely that one of them's going to have a glitch and slow down. And why do they have glitches? Because these are web servers serving content or serving tracking tags. Servers are hardware. They have hard drives. Hard drives fail. And when those things happen, then the other hard drives have to work faster and the computers slow down. And these things are usually pretty transient. So companies are aware of them, they fix them. But they do happen, they do affect website performance. I mentioned Ghostery, great plugin. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. The nice thing about it, aside from being free, is that you can then drill into each vendor and see what they do. You can even see what tags are firing on the page, what data they're collecting. You can even opt out of tracking if you want, but being part of the industry, I don't like to do that. So, time for another true story. This happened with yet another CJ affiliate advertiser. Again, nothing to do with CJ per se. It was different types of tags from my time at Razorfish, and very real world type of problem. We had a new tag we wanted to put up on the site, one of those types that you saw on the previous slide. We tested it. My ad ops team loaded it, measured it. Okay, it performs fast, looks great. We handed it off to our client. They put it up in their staging environment, which is like a copy of their live production site, just to make sure it's not going to break anything. They test it. Everything's great. So they finally put it in production. And what happens on their homepage? It only loads halfway. That site broke their homepage. Major, major retailer. So again, it's like, what do we do? So we had a postmortem, and I met with one of the web developers. Oh, I should mention the tag was fired through, I don't want to get any vendors in trouble, but from our ad server to another company that put it on the site. So we had this postmortem, and the guy says, don't you have a way where you can actually test tags on the production website before any of my visitors see it? And we talked to our ad serving vendor and other companies, and like, no, there's no way we can do this. If they had had a tag management system, they could have done that, because a common feature of tag management systems is to actually be able to put a tag into your production website with no one seeing it except you as the tester. To give credit to Insighten, I think they were the first ones to do it, and this company actually switched over to Insighten very shortly after that as a tag management vendor. And that problem never happened again. Pretty scary, right? So, how does a tag management system safeguard against slow loading tags that break the site? Imagine your web page being loaded as a 2-lane highway. On the left lane, your content is loading. So that's the fast lane, right? Flying along, loading the content. In the right lane, you have your tracking tags. Tag management systems allow you to do this. I'm being very conceptual here, but they have a way of loading things so that the tags, even if they're slow in the right lane, they're not slowing the left lane down. Very important. Now let's say that slow loading tag somehow, causes an accident and blocks the whole highway. Tag management system there are two approaches. One is it can issue an alert and let your 24/7 operations teams know that something just broke, caused the homepage to break, or a security warning on the site. It lets them know so that they can manually go in there and just stop that tag from loading and fix the problem within a couple of minutes. Some tag management systems can even detect those problems automatically and stop the tags on their own. So very important to guarantee that user experience. Finally, putting marketers in control. How many of you are on the advertiser side? Oh, we see a show of hands here. So how many of you have the ability to put up tags yourself? One is so that's been the trend, right? So what happens is that the web development teams and so on, they don't want anyone messing with their website if they don't have a tag management system. So you have to submit requests to them. And it could take, well, I'm not going to steal the thunder. I have someone to tell the story about that. But having you in control, be able to put up tags, can be a game changer. Let's hear from Elisa at Symantec again.
We've been working with CJ for years, and so what that means is that the pixel that we use to track all of our affiliate sales was placed on our platform many years ago, before really tag management products were out, and it wasn't something that we were taking advantage of. And this really did put us in some predicaments. One of the biggest things that it did is that as new employees came onto the team, we'd ask questions about how the pixel was firing, and it was really hard for us to get answers. Anytime that we made a change to our own platform, we would hear that maybe something wasn't working or tracking properly, and it was really hard for us to figure out, what those changes were and what the issues were from those changes. And so in the past, not only did we not know how it was firing, but if we needed to make any changes to it, it could take up to months to get those changes made. Our eBiz team had to work on those changes, and there was a ticket that needed to be submitted, and things had to go through proper releases, and so that just took a lot of time. And the way that we work in the affiliate channels, we were looking to be a little bit more efficient and make some progress more quickly. And so for all of these reasons, we decided to move the CJ Pixel to Insighten back in March of this year.
So she said it would take months to get tags launched. I see his head shaking over there. That is a fact. It can take months. The bigger the company, the longer it takes. The more regimented, they mainly do quarterly releases, and the goal of web development is to keep enhancing the website, right, and improving experience. Putting tracking tags, that's not even barely on their radar. They don't want to spend any time doing that. So having a tag management system, putting the control in your hands, as long as they're comfortable that it's safe, not going to break anything, they're going to be happy. Now let's hear from Matt Cott talking about some of his Dell experience. Again, he's, just to give a little background, so he'd been using the ad server technology for many, many years to put up tags, and he actually had to write code for every new tag. It was very complicated. But he was trying to simulate the benefits of tag management, like that 2-lane highway. He actually coded some of that himself. But he recently got Dell to switch over to a Conversion Tag Manager, and so he's able to talk about how that's been a game changer.
One of the great features of Conversion Tag Manager, and something your AdOps teams will love, is its front-end simplicity. For example, we deploy about 30 tags a week globally for Dell. Each one just takes a matter of minutes from initial implementation to QA to final live production.
30 tags a week, that's a lot of tagging. And if you had to wait months, it just, all their marketing efforts would just stall. So that's a lot of time, and if it took hours to do, he'd spend his time doing nothing but tagging. So he said it takes minutes to deploy. So that means you get a tag from a vendor or partner, you put it into the tag management system, you type in whatever data it needs to collect, then you test it on the production website, and then you hit launch, all within minutes. And that's real. So there's more to tag management systems, other than guaranteeing safe loading times and so on. Elisa had mentioned that they couldn't figure out who did what kind of tagging. There'd be tags on the site, they didn't know what they were there for. Tag management systems have added things like audit trails, so we can see who changed things and why. Allows them to put comments in. Here's a tag, here's why it's going on the site. Or even to schedule those tags to come down. This is a campaign-specific tag. When the campaign's over, the tag will just come down. Because nobody wants to give away data to media companies if there's no reason. If there's no longer a business reason to have them collect that data, it's like, I'm not giving away that stuff free. So what else can tag management systems do? Gateway logic. I'm sure lots of you use gateway logic to determine when to fire the CJ tag, right? Simplest terms, was the last click to the site from CJ? If so, load the CJ tag. So that way, affiliate gets credit, you don't have duplication of conversion credit. Tag management system can do that. So you're already implemented with CJ, but if you have new actions, new web pages, and so on, this can be set up using a tag management system. I didn't put it on here, but tag management systems also work in mobile. So obviously a huge segment now for mobile tracking. I know most purchases still happen on the desktop, but that's a growing concern. And then just tools for you as marketers or your web development team to test tags. Like Matt talked about testing within minutes. So here's an example. This is actually from Conversion Tag Manager, and a live diagnostics feature. So we can see on the production website what tags fired and what didn't. This is actually from an actual advertiser. And it's just really simple. Did it fire, didn't? And then you can drill down and actually see what data you're passing to it. Make sure, oh, I didn't pass the order ID, or the amount is blank or something. So you can just diagnose things. So QA testing and diagnostics is really important. They do a whole bunch of other things as well, but the idea is that there are tools to make it easy for you to make sure that things get set up the first time, and if anything stops working, you have tools to quickly figure out what's wrong. Let's talk about tag management vendors. Lots of them out there. Last I checked, there were about 13. There has been some consolidation. When there's that many vendors for a product, that certainly drives down the price. In fact, some are free. And so, for instance, Google Tag Manager, their product is free, which is great. But it's not for everyone. For instance, it doesn't have customer support. So if you've got a problem or a question, you have to go to forums and dig for a solution. Also, it's rather technical. I wouldn't want to ask my wife to figure out how to use that thing. She does taxes, by the way. So, and then there's other vendors like Telium, Signal, and Citon. These companies have been around almost since the beginning of tag management days. They all have very good products, and they're also worth checking out. They are, small privately held companies, and the only risk there is what happens if they get acquired. Does direction change? For instance, the first one I mentioned was Tagman. They got acquired by Citon, so I don't know what's happening there. People were configured with Tagman. Did they have to then migrate their configuration to Citon? I don't know. Also, there was a company called Satellite. They got bought out by Adobe, so Adobe tag management system is now Satellite, and things changed there. So, question, why did Conversant build a tag management system? I don't know if you noticed, but Matt kept referring to it as the new technology. It's actually just over 3 years old, and I know this because the development manager who built the product, he missed the launch because his son was born that day. So, and he just had his 3rd birthday. So I know that the product is 3 years old now. And it really helps to come in after everyone else. But why did we build a tag management system when there's other companies doing it already? Well, going back when we looked at this about 3.5 years ago, we were not happy with the state of tag management tracking. Clients would take their tag off the page, put it into a tag management system, and suddenly our tracking would drop by 20 to 30%. And we would work, Conversant would work, and CJ would work with these vendors and sometimes spend months just trying to get tracking to work properly. So it was a huge pain point for us. Obviously in the affiliate world we had to have accurate tracking. In the media world we had to have accurate measurement for optimization and data collection. So we decided to build our own just to give our clients really accurate tracking. And also we really were not happy with the usability of those tag management systems. For instance, that company I mentioned where the homepage broke, I said right after that they went to Untitled. Well, Untitled product 3.5 years ago was so complicated to use that they hired another vendor just to do the administration, like to log in and make the tag changes. Now I will say these products have gotten a lot better. So the current state of tag management systems, they are robust, seasoned products now. We are happy to be in any one that's configured correctly. Our tracking is much better. As Elisa said from Symantec, tracking is accurate within 1% now. So that things have certainly come a long way. So given all this, it's like, well, how many people are actually using tag management systems? In the last 1.5 years, of all new CJ advertisers, what percent are using tag management systems? Only 8.5%. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. But it shows this great opportunity here, right? For all the benefits we see for tag management systems, it's like there's no reason not to do this. And that's why I came up with the title of my presentation, of course. So to conclude, tag management systems, they're going to give you stable tracking. You're not going to have down tracking problems every few months. You're going to have more accurate tracking because they're going to fire sooner or appear on the page. They're going to make sure that the website is safe and secure from tags, and it's going to be able to put you in control. So let's hear one more time from Elisa at Symantec, because here's a hidden benefit for any publishers who put tags directly on their clients' websites.
One of our top affiliates, they have a live pixel placed on our platform as well. And we moved it at the same time we moved CJ's. And this affiliate is, they're a great partner. They drive a lot of traffic. And so when anything would change and affect their EPC, we would get a call within, hours of that happening. And so we decided to move their pixel to Untitled as well. And we did that back in March, and we have had no issues since we did that. So we know that we made the right choice, and we're very glad that that is something that we decided to do strategically as a team.
So if you remember the old Got Milk commercials, I got TMS, tag management systems. I try to stay away from acronyms. TLAs, anybody know what TLA stands for? 3-letter acronyms. So if you've got a tag management system today, you may not even know if you have one. You can use Ghostery and find out. You can just see if you see Tilium, Untitled, Signal, or BrightTag, Tagman, Google Tag Manager, and so on. If you don't know, just ask your web development team. And if you do have one, ask them if you can get a test drive of it and see if it's something that would be suitable for you to use and whether they'll release control. There are a number of controls in tag management systems that can still allow the operations team to have the final say, but if you do the lion's share of the work, they'd be more amenable to it. So see if you got one, and if so, ask to see how you can get involved in that. If you don't have a tag management system, great time to start the dialogue with your web development team. Partner with them, find a solution that's going to meet their needs from a control point of view, and the one that meets your needs from a marketing point of view.